Hey everybody, welcome into To The Point. We're all doing well on this Monday, April 3rd, coming off a very interesting weekend in the world of sports. Lots to dive into. It is Masters Week. Things will tee off from Augusta National on Thursday morning. Tiger Woods is already there. Bryson DeChambeau. We have the Live and the PGA Tour collision course, which will be happening. Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith, Rory McIlroy, Brooks Koepka, fresh off winning the Live Orlando event this past week. So lots of high drama there, lots of interesting things to follow. Looking forward to the Masters on Thursday. Tomorrow on the program, Seamus should be here. Casey Ward's going to join. We're going to have a little Masters preview show. Going to make some picks. Going to talk about key storylines, get into, I don't golf, follow it, love it. Corey Connors win on the PGA Tour yesterday. Going to get Casey's insight into just playing the course, hitting shots. We'll ask Seamus as well, the lesser of the two golfers. But they'll be on tomorrow. We're going to talk about some golf. It is Masters Week. Can't wait for that to start up on Thursday. Program. Baseball, we got some college basketball to get into. We got a lot of NHL thoughts from the weekend. But I want to start with women's college basketball because that's what I started with last Monday. And I talked about Caitlin Clark and how Caitlin Clark was the biggest star in college athletics, the whole show. She was hitting threes. She was a personality. She was giving it to the fans. She was box office. She was the whole. She was everything. And she made it a spectacle. She made it interesting. She put women's basketball on the map because of her play, absolutely, but also because of her personality and the way she approaches the game. The way that she shoots, her demeanor, and the way she just attacks every single possession. And this weekend, Friday night, Caitlin Clark and her Iowa teammates, but mainly Caitlin Clark, defeated South Carolina. 35-0, South Carolina. Iowa defeats them in the Final Four game. Caitlin Clark had over 40 points, and she either scored or assisted on 85% of the team's points. That's domination, Holmes. That's Connor McDavid level. That is box office, best player in the game type shit. So they get by South Carolina, the juggernaut, Aaliyah Boston, last year's National Player of the Year. And they meet LSU in the national title game yesterday afternoon. And LSU is another kind of upstart team. They have a coach in Kim Mulkey who's won national titles in multiple different locations. She's a personality herself. She's flamboyant. She wears these big outfits. Also good for the sport, I might add. And it was a chippy game. You had Caitlin Clark, who started off red hot, 4 for 7 from 3 after the first quarter. She's getting points, but the whistles were aplenty. And early in the third quarter, Caitlin Clark picked up her 4th foul. And before you knew it, the game was getting out of hand, and it became very clear that LSU was going to win the national championship. And I have 2 thoughts on this. Yes, it's unfortunate that the referees ruined a national title game yesterday. Was the game that interesting? No, and the referees are to blame for that. But I think we're talking too much today, and I've seen it on Twitter about the officials, when women's sports again got a win this weekend. Wasn't the Final Four performance from Caitlin Clark and her, giving it to the fans? Great. Another win. The bigger win is this. Caitlin Clark's a flamboyant personality. She's a bit of an egomaniac. She's extremely self-confident, which is all fantastic. Having a personality is what you need in sports, in particular in a sport that is niche. And for every female competition, for every female sport currently, it is a niche sport because not everybody's going to watch it. That might sound harsh. It's not. It's a plain truth. Baseball is becoming a niche sport. Men play it, but they made changes to their product because it's niche. It can happen. It doesn't just have to be female. In this case, it is. But this weekend, yes, the whistles are going all over the place. People are upset. Caitlin Clark doesn't get to finish her story, if you will. But in the middle of the game, the LSU bench is giving it to Caitlin Clark. They are taunting her. You have players in the opposite team showing the ring symbol for the national championship ring, telling her she hasn't won anything, saying just telling her she's an egomaniac in her face on the podium after the game. Opposing players saying she has no respect, she's this, that, and the other, and rivalries are born. Conversations are had. In the United States today, playing in the national championship game, they led with LSU and the Caitlin Clark drama. If this doesn't point to why having personalities is paramount and so important in the sports world, nothing will. Caitlin Clark did not win the national championship, and I'm sure she's pissed off, and I'm sure she wants to win next year in her senior season at Iowa, which she very may will. But here's the thing. What she did over the last 2 weeks will have more of an impact on college sports, on female athletics, than any national championship ring she could have won individually. And yes, it's something I'm sure she's frustrated with. She had to win, but about advancing the sport, improving female play, improving pay, improving attendance, improving interest, that all happened. 5.4 million people watched the national championship game yesterday. 5.4 million on ABC. The national title women's game. There will not be, I don't think there'll be 4 million people that watch the men's game tonight. Half of that reason is because the game starts at 10:20 p.m. Atlantic, which, yes, I really bother me. But if you want to get ratings, 9:20 p.m. Eastern, what the fuck are you doing? I don't think the women's game was on at a perfect time. It was on at 4:30 in the afternoon. Believe me, as a guy rushing back from Fredericton from watching a hockey game to get back home so I can watch the damn game, wasn't thrilled with the start time, but it's better than 10:20. There was drama. There was intrigue. There's resentment. And we have a conversation starter. People either love Caitlin Clark or they hate her. People either love LSU and the way they confronted her or they hate her. Good. Division is what fuels conversation. Think about politics. Politics would not be interesting if everybody just agreed on the same thing. Now, I wish some things, which I think are easy to agree upon, would be easy just to say, yes, we all agree on this. Guns, for instance. But that doesn't happen. But why is politics so interesting? Why does the conversation get more and more intriguing by the month? Because nobody agrees on anything. And you go on Fox, and then you go on CNN, then you go on Democrat This Morning with little Georgie and Michael Strahan, and they're talking about all the crap that they're going on about. And it's opposing viewpoints. You have people, and there's a constant communication. If every person was the same, life would be pretty fucking boring. If everybody loved the same hockey, if everybody loved the same player, then okay, well, we just love that player. Why watch anybody else? That's exactly what pro sports leagues don't want you to do. They want you to love the league before you love a specific team. Because think about it. If you love the Toronto Maple Leafs, great. Okay, you watch the Toronto Maple Leafs, you get that rating for one night. But if you love the sport of hockey, you are watching hockey every night. It could be Columbus, New Jersey. It could be Florida. It could be Minnesota. You just love the sport. Now, how many sports really have this? There's less Noahs and more, Heidi and Darren Warrens, an example close to home, who like the Leafs and don't really watch any other team. But you want people to care. You want people to enjoy the league and not just the niche elements of it. If Caitlin Clark, who is interesting, you know that Caitlin Clark's box office. But you might say, you know what? Remember we watched LSU in that national championship game? They were a good team. They have a bunch of returnees. Let's watch them play Georgia in the SEC. Well, that was a good game. Well, let's watch some more of this. Let's find out some more players that we like. Is there more personalities? Is there more conversation? And this will continue. You need to continue the intrigue. And that is what I think these athletes, Caitlin Clark in particular, are doing for this sport. Think of hockey. Why are people that interested in hockey? To me, it's more about the play and less about the personality. Connor McDavid's a great player. He's never had an interesting quote. Same with Sidney Crosby. Women's hockey needs a Caitlin Clark. Baseball needs a Caitlin Clark. You need a refresh. You need something to bring you to watch it. Why do you watch TV shows? The characters. They're interesting. They bring something to the table. Tony Soprano, was he a likable person? Not really. But he was interesting. And you kind with it. But I want to see him go down. I want to keep watching because at the end of this, maybe he'll die. Walter White. Okay, I understand what he's doing for his family, but is this guy's a piece of shit? He's too focused on the money. He's too focused on the greed and not about the long term, about his family. At the end of it, we hate this guy. He's hurting Jesse. Jesse's our likable character, and you keep going. You keep watching because you're invested, because you're interested. If a movie doesn't grip people in the first 10, 15 minutes, guess what? They're turning the fucking channel because there's so many other options out there. It is more difficult now to keep eyes on your product than ever because there are so many other options. You can get subscriptions. You can get a baseball package, a basketball package, you get the NHL package, you got football, you got NCAA, you got all this different stuff. Or people might read puzzles. No, not puzzles. Get a grip. You might do yard work, yet there's still snow on the ground in April, and they're calling for snow tonight, so good God. Fucking New Brunswick weather. But you get my point. Just because you love a team, is that enough to keep you? Is that enough to keep people watching? Maybe for Leaf fans, because they've had them like a sucker, they've had them on a string forever, like a fish, just reeling it in, like a big bass. So we got them on the hook. Is our team any good? Oh, who cares? They're gonna keep watching. So what else are they gonna do? Hope for something else? Fat chance. But are other fan bases doing that around the sports world? Columbus fans watching the whole season in this pathetic Chicago? They're fans watching every game? Or are they going to say, are we going to watch the Blackhawks tonight and their brutal team, or are we going to watch Succession? Are we going to binge The Last of Us? Are we going to watch Caitlin Clark instead of the Blackhawks game? I would. The marketing, the promotion of anything now has to be better than it was a decade ago. That includes me. There's so many podcasts out there. There are people that are better than me. I think there's a lot of people that aren't as good as me, that have more viewers. Clearly, they're doing something that I'm not. But you need to continue your self-promotion. You need to continue to get people to have eyeballs on your product. College basketball got that with Caitlin Clark, but she's bringing out personality in other athletes. For the people that are saying we love Caitlin Clark because of that personality, we criticize the other ones today, the LSU players today, I say the criticism is actually a good thing, because the criticism means they're talking about that player. Now, did the LSU players do anything wrong with Caitlin Clark? Not a thing. Not one thing did they do wrong. They did the same thing that she did. But Caitlin Clark is the hero. They're the anti-hero. You need the baby face. You need the heel in every story. You need that to write a good story. Sometimes the worst shows, sometimes the worst, you don't write sporting finals. But when you have a boring final that's Los Angeles, New Jersey, like in 2012 Stanley Cup final, what's the narrative there? What's the conclusion? What can people draw into other than just loving the game? If you're a casual fan, you're like, well, why would I watch this? Flip. Okay, I love basketball. Am I just going to watch this? Okay. Why was Titanic a really bad movie? Because neither character was that likable. Neither character was that interesting. James Cameron wrote another shitty script. Go figure. It all needs to work in conjunction. Caitlin Clark, Iowa, LSU. Thank you for great theater, a great product, and a great tournament over the last couple of weeks. More people watched the women's tournament than the NBA and the men's tournament in the last month. That's not me just making that up. Facts. The last 3 women's college basketball games had bigger ratings than any NBA on ESPN game this year. This year. Steph, LeBron, you name it. Nobody gave a shit. Okay, they gave a shit, a couple million. More people watch the women. Maybe because the women show up and play every night. The NBA, we talk about these narratives. We talk about people keeping people invested. How about every NBA player setting out games? Load management. No, can't play tonight. Oh, my shin hurts. Or I got this injury and they're not playing. It hurts your product. Again, why don't I go watch the women's game? Everybody's playing. It's interesting. Just because you have a big brand doesn't mean you're immune from what the world is now. Doesn't mean you're immune from competition. Joe Rogan in the podcast game is at the top of the heap. He's up here. But he's getting more and more stoned, doing drugs, and his interviews are getting worse and worse. Somebody else might creep up. Smartless, fly on the wall. These interesting, better interviewers, quite frankly, who aren't even interviewers, are getting up there on the totem pole. You always got to keep improving your game. You always got to keep people invested. Give the people a reason to listen, to watch, to consume. Because if you don't, they'll go somewhere else. Period. The NBA have said, we don't care about you, consumer, because everybody is going to sit out games. We're going to load manage. We're going to not play road games. We're going to ruin your experience to go watch a game because nobody's going to be there. And you might not care, but some people might not care. The players probably don't care, but guess what? The next time you look at the ratings and the next time you hit a collective bargaining agreement, your money might go down because the ratings are down. TV revenue is down. It's vital. The men's tournament also was going on. FAU, San Diego State, Miami versus UConn. I thought we'd see an FAU UConn final. But in a battle of all battles, San Diego State, who fall behind in every game but grind their way back into it, erased a 14-point second-half deficit. And they found a way to come back and win. Matt Bradley had 11 points in the first quarter. He found some points late in the second half. And Butler made the game-winning bucket with 0.4 left on the clock. And they won the game, in my opinion, because they owned the offensive glass. They played tough defense in the second half. They started to make decisions tough on FAU. FAU was settling for far outside shots. And you could just say it's a game of inches. Neither team has an elite player because it's Florida Atlantic and it's San Diego State. But you have a bunch of guys with experience. A bunch of guys that are fourth, fifth-year guys, not freshmen. In particular in San Diego State. 4 of their 5 starters are seniors. And they know how to play. Down the stretch, they don't make stupid decisions. Their coaching is very strong. And they found a way to win. CD was big. Bradley was huge to start the first half, making shots, getting that confidence going. But with 0.4 left, that's got to be a crushing blow for FAU. Because I think you can say this for a bunch of teams. San Diego State's in the national championship game. Alabama, who they played in the Elite Eight, in the Sweet 16, was more talented than San Diego State. Creighton, who San Diego State beat in the Elite Eight, was more talented than San Diego State. And I also believe FAU, Florida Atlantic, was more talented than San Diego State. But yet they beat all 3 teams. They beat a Florida Atlantic team who had 30-plus wins. And now they're set up with an opportunity, with a 50% chance of winning the national championship tonight against the prohibitive favorite. UConn, who's had no trouble all tournament long. They destroyed Gonzaga, a powerhouse school led by Drew Timme in the Elite Eight. They get by Miami easily in the Final Four. Miami put up a fight in the first half, but really to end the first half, you had a 3 late by UConn, and that kind of sank the spirits of Jim Larinaga and the Miami Hurricanes. They destroyed Arkansas. They destroyed Gonzaga. One of their tougher opponents was St. Mary's. That was in the second round. So now they get San Diego State. To me, this reminds me of the Gonzaga final where they lost. Might have been to Baylor. I think they played Baylor in that final. They went in They hadn't lost a game all year. They made that incredible shot late, and they fell flat. They had all the pressure to win. Would have been the first title in school history, and ultimately Mark Few and the team could not do it. It will be a massive, massive failure if UConn does not win tonight. UConn is the better team. They're the deeper team. For once, I think they're the smarter team. They have so many different ways that they can beat you. First off, Senago, they're big, is incredibly hard to match up with. The other night, he goes 8 for 9 field goals, 10 rebounds, had a couple assists as well. Moves very well on the ball screen. They also have Klingon off the bench, who adds a different element, but also is a very solid big for them. Every game, they seemingly shoot close to 50% from three. Jackson, a bunch of other smart players that can contribute. UConn's deeper. They're more talented. And I think their IQ is just as on the level of San Diego State. And Dan Hurley is a very good coach. The key for San Diego State tonight is to keep the game close in the first half. If they get down by 14 points, like they did FAU against UConn, they will not be coming back. And I think this will be a blowout tonight. If they're down at any point by 14, I think UConn will win the game by 25 plus, because I just think they're too deep and they will stomp on your throat because they've done it multiple times in this tournament. For UConn, it's about battling those nerves, because I think they know going into this game. They probably saw themselves in the national title game because they believed they were that talented. I don't think they expected to see San Diego State. And there's a fine line between licking your chops and respecting your opponent. For them, I'm sure they expected either Duke or Alabama to be here, because I think Duke and or Alabama are the two most talented teams in that half of the draw, but neither of them even got to Elite Eight. So for UConn, is not being too overconfident, but playing the game you played all tournament long, you will win the national championship. It'll be the team's first national championship since 2004. I'll point this out again. I do not know why CBS. I do not know why CBS is putting this game on at 10:20 Atlantic time tonight. 9:20 Eastern. It's too late to start a game. This game's only going to be over by 12:30, 1 o'clock. Meaning, I imagine for most families, your kids aren't even going to watch a second of this game, even in the United States. A lot of it won't be consumed by children. Still got school and whatever else crap they're doing. You want to get the adults, but you also want to get those kids watching to get them excited about basketball and promoting it and the future generations. You're not going to get that playing at 9:20, 10:20 at night. 8:30 tip. Atlantic time, 7:30 in the US, 9 o'clock here. I don't know who it benefits to put on a game this late. What kind of viewership this will help you get. I don't think it will. I think it'll hurt your viewership. I'm no TV producer. I don't own one of these big companies. Maybe CBS had to get 911, Lone Star, or something that they need to get on their TVs tonight before the national title game. But it just seems like a stupid decision to me. But I'll be watching. Ultimately, in all these stupid decisions, the ones that suffer is me, because I'm going to stay up and watch. Most people go to bed because, they need their 8 hours and you need to be ready for the next day. I'll get my 2.5 and don't know if I'll be ready for the next day. but I'll get the hours that I need. San Diego State, UConn this evening. Should be fun. Should be on earlier. I got UConn big. Major League Baseball is back. We talked about it last week. Preview show, all of that. I still think it's fun. I'm having fun watching baseball, and I know that sounds childlike, but I wasn't. It was a chore to watch baseball. There was no movement. It was no fun. You're seeing a spike in steals attempted over the first 4 days of the season. It's up about 30 from last year. Time of the game is going faster. And here's the thing. A game can be 4 hours in baseball if it's interesting. That Blue Jays opening day game, fantastic game. But it was 4 hours of entertainment. It was 4 hours of quick entertainment, lots of hits. It's exciting. Not 2-1 where it takes a minute and a half to throw a pitch. That's not interesting. Nobody cares, but nobody's tuning in for that product. And you're seeing some players be pissed off about how they don't have a great feel late in the game. You feel rushed. Quite frankly, I don't care. I don't care because it's about the product. Again, it's like I was talking on the opening block when it came to women's college basketball. It's about the personality. It's about this and that. It's about what they're doing to promote the sport. In baseball, would some more personality help? Absolutely. Would never hurt any sport. But ultimately, the game itself needed a rebranding. It needed a refresher. It needed a touch-up. It needed a makeover. It's getting it right now. So I'm still excited about that, and I like what they're doing. Some headlines from over the weekend. Philadelphia Phillies get swept in Texas by the Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers, who spent all kinds of money, are 3-0. They're thrilled. It's early. We got to remember that. It's always early. Whether it's going bad or good for your team right now, you got 159 games left. Red Sox take 2 out of 3 from the Orioles. Neither team can pitch. Games are 10-9 twice this weekend. Baltimore's pitching stinks, so does the Red Sox. Okay. Phillies were in the World Series last year. They got no Bryce Harper. They got half the roster that was in there isn't playing. They're injured. We got to remember that. Blue Jays dropped 2 of 3 to the Cardinals. Now Manoah, your ace, Chris Bassett, your newest addition, were both terrible in the first start. No doubt about it. Bassett was god-awful yesterday. Everybody on that Cardinals staff was hitting him. It's his first start. You shake it off. What I will say, if you're a Blue Jays fan, what I think you can take just a good feeling about is, number one, that you got the Kansas City Royals this week, who stink. But also, you're not relying on the home run. You didn't have a home run in your first 2 games, and you won one of them. You're seeing base hits. You're seeing base runners. You're driving people in different ways. Ultimately, that's how you win. It's nice to hit a home run every now and then, but can you drive a guy in when he's on second base? Can you hit a flare up dead center? A bloop single. Can you get that? Can you hit a left? Can you hit a ball to left for a double that drives in the runner? The great teams do it, and they ultimately win the World Series. There's no team that is great yet. You can't decide that after 3 games. And the Diamondbacks took 2 or 4 from the Los Angeles Dodgers. Things happen in pro sports. Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout are both healthy at the same time. That's a rarity. They both hit home runs back-to-back yesterday against the Oakland Athletics. That's fun. You got afternoon baseball on a Monday today. The Mets are in Milwaukee. The San Francisco Giants are heading to Chicago to play the White Sox. I like that. Something I think Major League Baseball, their schedule, you can flex games, they should consider is having an afternoon game every day. Something I think would be smart. Tuesday, Wednesday does not matter. Have an afternoon game. Have eyes on your product. Afternoon, people are working. Even if you're at work, you got a TV in your office, you can throw it on. Throw the game on. Have it start at 4 p.m. People are getting home from work. Maybe they can watch the last 4 or 5 innings of the game. Doesn't have to be your favorite team. If something is on, people are going to watch it. I think it's a smart business strategy for baseball. You can have an afternoon game in the middle of the week. Hockey isn't doing that. Basketball isn't doing that. That space needs to be occupied. Why not you? Why not you? Aaron Judge got a couple home runs already. Garrett Cole looks good. Chris Bassett gets wrapped up. Jose Barrios hits the mound tonight against the Kansas City Royals. He'll be looking for a hot start to the season after his disaster last year. Trying to think of the team that interested me the most from the opening weekend of baseball. I made some notes earlier about some of those teams. The Phillies getting swept was interesting. Houston lost a couple games to the White Sox. The Mets are 3-1, yet they're down 10 rip today to the Milwaukee Brewers. Afternoon game. Carlos Carrasco, 4 innings, 5 earned. Tommy Hunter goes an inning, gives up 5 earned. Oof. Giants are currently up 2-0 in the White Sox on the south side. Got Phillies, Yankees opening up a series. Every team's playing each other this year in baseball. I love it. That helped the NHL 100%. And that's something I always think is that should never change in that sport. It happens in the NBA. You hear people say, well, we should have more of these games, more of this. I want to see every team play each other. I do. I don't like seeing – I've seen the same division. I saw the Canadian division. I hated it. Hated it. I never want to see that again. The same team play each other 8 times a year. I don't want it. Play everybody. Have some interesting matchups. Maybe create some new rivalries. See what happens when you're playing a team that you don't usually play. Will there be tension? Will there be something that boils to the surface? Baltimore Orioles head to Texas to play the Red Hot Texas Rangers tonight. Angels at the Mariners this week. Mariners are 1-3 after starting slow. Cleveland Guardians look good. Diamondbacks play the Padres. Detroit heads to Houston to play the Astros. They still haven't won a game. But baseball is back. It's still fun. I like seeing the stolen bases. I like the fact that pitchers are pissed off. The catchers don't like it. That means it's working. That means the sport is working. Pitchers, catchers, batters taking their damn time. They've been loving it forever. And the fans and the product has quite frankly sucked. So good for baseball. And I've been enjoying it so far. Mentioned off the top, Corey Connors won his second career PGA Tour event this past weekend. His second win at the Valero Texas Open. a weekend of craziness for him. I'm watching Saturday. He's on the 9th hole. He completely just duck hooks a drive. His second shot is in no man's land. He ends up double bogeying the hole. He was tied for the lead, drops down to 5th. But he gutted his way back in the back 9 on Saturday. It was a shot off the lead going into Sunday. And he won. He won yesterday not because his putting was all that good, because Corey Connors is not a good putter. Not on the Will Zalatoris level, but he does have some whiskey mitts in him where you know it's not going to go well. But he's a very good ball striker. You see him on 18. He knows he's up a stroke. He pars the par 5, he wins. He hits it right down the middle, smokes it right down the middle, puts himself in a great position, and he pars the hole. He ends up winning. But to see a Canadian win on the PGA Tour, it had been a minute. It moves him into the top 20 of the FedEx Cup standings. He was already going to the Masters, but it punches his ticket even more. Prize money, things of that nature, keeping his tour card. Tough scene for Patrick Rogers, who had the lead after the second round, after the third round, and he ends up finishing in 5th place. And now we head to Augusta. Masters Week. We'll have the players' dinner this week. Scotty Scheffler's menu. Hideki Matsuyama. Patrick Reed. Sergio Garcia. We'll make our picks tomorrow, but this is one of the most intriguing Masters weeks in recent memory. Phil and Tiger both can be playing. Phil didn't play Augusta last year. Liv versus the PGA Tour. Cameron Smith's been talking a lot of smack. Said he wants to beat a lot of these guys. Koepka said yesterday he misses playing against Rory, misses playing against some of the best golfers in the world. What's the response that a Liv player would get if they win Augusta? If one of them goes out and wins the major, what's the response? Cameron Smith won a major last year, but he wasn't a part of Liv yet. He joined Liv about 3-4 weeks later. And he's on the short list of the winners. See, he was playing Saturday last year at a very good chance, and he had a brutal round. One of the worst rounds of the entire year. Scheffler took advantage, and Scheffler dominated the rest of Saturday and Sunday. But today's headline, the feature of today's podcast is drama and intrigue. Golf is in a good place right now because there's a lot of great golfers on tour. Full swing help with personalities, certainly. And I think the game's got some intrigue and has got people keeping an eye on it. And yes, people will watch the Masters because they know the Masters, the lore of it, and just the feel that everybody gets from seeing the greens at Augusta National and Tiger Woods and this, that, and the other. But we hear forever the Masters will do whatever they want. They'll let Liv players in. They'll do whatever. They don't care. They don't behold anybody's rules but their own. If that is the case, and this is about putting on the best event with the most drama and the most intrigue, they need to pair Liv players with PGA Tour players. They need to put Brooks Koepka and Rory McIlroy in the same group. Do it. How about Sergio Garcia in the same group with Tiger Woods? Makes sense. 2 past champions, 2 guys in their 40s. Sergio, one of the most hated players on any tour. Put him in there. Bryson DeChambeau. Put him with anybody. Any player, they'll have a reaction. Someone of significance. Put DeChambeau with Scheffler. Most cool, calm, and collected. He's been playing phenomenal golf. DeChambeau is spraying it all over the place on the LIV Tour, playing horrible. Can't find his game. He's talked before about how easy Augusta is. He's never finished in the top 30. These type of pairings need to happen. Bring the intrigue. Bring people in. Because we talk all week about how the LIV guys are there to win and how the PGA guys are there to win. And hopefully there's players on both sides that play well, and you end up seeing pairings on Saturday and Sunday because you can't do anything about it once the leaderboard is up. But do it on Thursday first. Have some pairings in the team that have some LIV and PGA Tour players blended in. Then have a night session on Thursday and Friday coinciding that have it. Because it just makes it more intriguing. Just makes you want to watch a little, keep a little more attention to what everybody's like after they make a shot. Is there much chatter on the golf course? Are people giving it to Rory because they know how badly he wants this tournament? It would complete his chase of getting every major. He's won the British. He's won the U.S. He's won the PGA Championship. He's never won at Augusta National. And you know it kills him that seeing guys like Patrick Reed, Sergio Garcia, Dustin Johnson, all players who are lesser than Rory have that accomplishment. Can he overcome that? Can he get what they can he achieve what they have in getting that green jacket? Can Brooks Koepka continue his momentum and win back-to-back weeks? It'd be a nice little moment if he could win. If he could win here, after talking about in full swing how he didn't have any confidence anymore, how he didn't think he could win. That would be interesting. Who knows where this is forward to Masters Week. I'm looking forward to talking to Seamus and Casey tomorrow about this year's events, who they like. I can't wait. I can't wait for Thursday. But something I'm more interested in is seeing who is paying. We'll react to it tomorrow. Because Augusta, CBS, grow some fucking balls and don't just put the players in with who they want to play with. This is Augusta. PGA, LIV, you get to play with whoever because you're in your respective promotion. This is Augusta National. This is different. This isn't just, okay, well, we're not going to put you with you because we know you have beef. No. You're going to do it. You're going to play with this person because we said so. If you don't want to play with him, don't play in our tournament. Beat it. Set the standard for years to come. We've been waiting for it. They never do it. Any of these TV broadcasts. Any of these tournaments. Why? I'll never understand it. If anybody's going to buck that trend, it's going to be Augusta. Will they? We'll see. the best players in their respective sports. We talk about it all the time. Who's the best player in basketball? Is it MJ or is it LeBron? Who's the best player in baseball? We think it's Shohei Ohtani, Patrick Mahomes. Hockey, it's pretty obvious. It's Connor McDavid. But who's the second best player in hockey? That's been the conversation forever. And I think for most people, they thought it was an easy answer. Well, it's Austin Matthews. And, they had a good case coming off last season. He's a Hart Trophy winner. He had a great year. Looks like a dominant player, and he's on the most popular and the most overcovered team in the National Hockey League. All of those boxes are good things to check. But it was wrong. I said that from the beginning. He's not the second best player in the world. I had him 5th on my ranking system. And looking at this season, he would not be 5th based on just this season. He's played good hockey as of late. But has he been consistently fantastic all year long? Is he consistently a top 3 player in the world? No. This guy's got more dips than me. He likes to go for a swim. He likes to take his time to kind of weave in and out of the season and be interested in that, and then for a long period of time just have no interest at all in playing, quite frankly, in competitive games. So he's a great player, but he's not the second best player in the world. I love Andrei Vasilevsky. Is still the best goaltender in the world. His numbers in the regular season do not always reflect that, but looking at his playoff resume, nobody can touch it in the game right now. And anytime he loses a game, he somehow finds a way to win the next one. So just based off the playoffs, I believe Vash is, you could argue, he's one of the best players in the world regardless. But consistently, I can't put Vasilevsky at number 2. And it's a big sacrifice for me. Cale Makar. I can't have Cale Makar because he's injured too often. He's been out with concussions. He's not always around. And Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen have had more of an impact on the Colorado Avalanche this season than Cale Makar has. Now, you could argue it's Nathan MacKinnon, who's been fantastic all year long, who willed his team to a huge victory Saturday night against the Dallas Stars. But that's going. To me, it's been obvious from the beginning. It's been slapping us in the face. But yet we've failed to acknowledge it. And I still think as a hockey radius, we fail to see this blind spot because we see the flashy Lamborghini in front of us, because we see the beautiful supermodel. We don't see the great supporting actor. We don't see the great Lambo. You don't see the Maserati coming behind it. And we just have to say, Connor McDavid is the best player in the world, but the second best player in hockey is Leon Draisaitl. The Edmonton Oilers have the 2 best players in the NHL, period. And after seeing what Draisaitl's done the last month, but what he's done all season long, Leon Draisaitl has 120 points. The second most in the National Hockey League, 14 more than the third place, than the man in third, which is Matthew Tkachuk. I've said this 1,000 times on this show, but Draisaitl and McDavid do not play together. They play on separate lines. He doesn't just get points because of Connor. Leon Draisaitl has 30 power play goals on the season. 50 goals on the season, getting there Saturday night against the Anaheim Ducks. He's clutch, he's smart, and he's damn determined. A player who went from a guy who got $8.5 million to being one of the stupidest things the Edmonton Oilers could do to having the best contract in the sport. Again, period. Look it up. Find a better one. I dare you. Come back to me with a better contract. You'll be wrong. He is dominant every night. He doesn't backcheck his. I don't want to hear it. He plays both ends. He does it all. And I don't want to hear the Matthews argument. I don't want to hear on the respective teams who have been better than them. Who I could name. I think Marner and Nylander have been better for most of the season than Matthews. Marner for sure. Marner's been the team MVP. Marner overall is the least best player. Overall. He does more for that team than Matthews does. He blocks shots. He penalty kills. He's the whole focus on the power play. Lord knows not going to be Morgan Riley. He does nothing to help the power play. Shouldn't even be on the fucking power play. Marner has to do more for his team because Matthews doesn't hold up his end of the bargain. That's why Marner may get votes for the Hart Trophy. And guess what? Matthews is not going to get a vote this year. McKinnon's had a great year. Mikko Rantanen's been so more important for that team. Because Mikko Rantanen held down the fort when there was no McKinnon and there was no Makar, and he's up to 50 goals now. And he's one of the best power forwards in the game, and he's an unstoppable freight train. But even saying that, look at all these players. You think about them first because Connor is the flashing red light, and he's the best player in the world. But Draisaitl is the second best. He's won a Hart. He's won a Ted Lindsay. He's won an Art Ross, just like Austin Matthews. He plays in a Canadian market, but why doesn't he get that same respect? I watched Saturday night. I'm watching WrestleMania. Yes, I watched the full Saturday night WrestleMania. It's actually fantastic. But I'm watching the Edmonton Oilers. And yes, they're playing the Anaheim Ducks. I don't care. I don't care. He was the best player on the ice. He took the game over. He did whatever the hell he wanted. Not because he had 97 who they had to overcover, because he damn well could. It's always 4 to 5 players in front of him. It's always, well, this guy's better than this guy's better. They're not. They're not. They're not. And seeing these two players play the way they are, that's why if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan this year, you have belief. Because Pittsburgh Penguins, they were winning because they had Yager and they had Mario Lemieux. And you could argue when they were winning in their heyday, they were the two best players in the world. They also had Ron Francis on their team. That would be the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who's going to quietly have 100 points. To me, those 90 Penguins teams are giving me the Oilers vibes. Because they're not a perfect team by any means. Stuart Skinner's unproven. You look at him, you're like, well, I like him. But do I like him because he's really good, or do I like him because the alternative is Jack Campbell, who can't stop a sieve? I love Matthias Ekholm, great addition. How do I feel about the rest? Brett Kulak. Ugh. Evan Bouchard. Getting better, really good in the power play. How good is he 5-on-5? Not that great. Philip Broberg. Good kid, but he's a kid. Still learning the ropes, still learning how to play at the NHL level, night in, night out. But you go through all the negatives, you go through all the hangnails of this team, and once you get your nails done, you look at it and you go, wow, they got 3 centers that nobody can match, including Toronto. I thought it would be the Leafs. That would be their biggest advantage. And maybe the Leafs and Oilers meet in the Stanley Cup final. Wouldn't that be something? 2 teams that you have O'Reilly, Tavares, and Matthews, McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins. Edmonton's is better, but both teams are formidable 3 centers right up the middle of the ice. That's the way they choose to attack it. It might sound like a rant, but to me, he doesn't get enough respect for how good he is. He's second in the NHL in scoring. He's doing all of this. Yet, to me, it seems like he gets docked for being on McDavid's team. He can't do anything about that. You know what he can what he does have a say in is his production. He's third in the NHL in goals. Second in points. 14 more points than Nikita Kucherov. Because McDavid, Draisaitl's got 120. Kucherov has 106. Pastrnak has 103. Tkachuk has 102. 5 players so far have 100 points. Robertson is right on the cusp at 97. Nugent-Hopkins has 97. Nathan MacKinnon has 97. Nathan MacKinnon, who's having a fantastic season, has 97 points in 64 games. That's absurd. Absurd, the season he's having. And he's playing like a man possessed. Like it just wasn't enough last year. The one title, yes, it was great. But they can win more in a very winnable Central Division, which I don't disagree with them. It is a very winnable Central Division, very winnable Western Conference. I've been talking about the Hart Trophy voting and who I think are going to get the 3 nominees. McDavid's an obvious one. He's going to win the award. 2 other players are going to be nominated. Mikko Rantanen, for me, would be one. I think if the Panthers get in, right now they're on the outside looking in. Pittsburgh beat Philly last night. Now Florida needs some help to get in. They need to win. They need to hope Pittsburgh gets some losses down the stretch here. We'll wait and see what happens. I think they both have even games left. I think they both might have 5 games left. Florida has a much tougher road than Pittsburgh just when it comes to opponents on paper. Yeah, Florida and Pittsburgh both have 77 games left. So both have 5 games left. New York has 4 games left. And they're only a point up on Pittsburgh and only 2 points up on Florida. So they're not out of the weeds yet either. But based off where we stand today and the playoffs seedings, and I'll talk about this more once the season ends and how I vote and everything like that for every award. The 3 nominees I would have to name: Connor, Rantanen's got 92 points. He could easily get to 100 by the end of the year. He's got 50 goals. I struggle with this because I think it's going to be Pastrnak or Rantanen. Because Rantanen's been so great. You could look at Pastrnak and say, well, he's on the best team in hockey. He has been really, as of late, they continue to win games. They know they've locked up the President's Trophy. They know they're the best team in the league. They're sitting guys out, yet they continue to win. They played Pittsburgh Saturday afternoon. I watched that hockey game, a really good hockey game. They got out a win because Pastrnak gets a hat trick. They got out a win. He scores a goal with a little over 3 minutes left. He's now up to 56 goals on the season. But his impact game in, game out, he's seemingly scoring multiple goals a game. He's finding ways to get on the score sheet. What I love about Pastrnak is his ability to see the play before the pass. You usually think of that from the passing perspective. About the player who has the puck and they know where the player's going to be before, they know where the guy's going to be, and then they pass it before he even gets there. Or they can see how the play is going to develop before their eyes. Pastrnak does that, but he doesn't have the puck. He puts himself in a position to score before the pass happens. They don't have to create a pass to get him open. He finds open space and delivers the goods. That's his superpower. He puts himself in an area and he blows a hole through the goalie because it's in the back of the net. Huge clap bombs. He tipped the goal in on Saturday afternoon. I think Pastrnak or Rantanen is going to get one of the two spots. And if Boston wins they've already won the President's Trophy. If they finish with the most wins in a single regular season in the history of the NHL, it's hard to not name one of their players, to not give one of them some recognition. So I'll say he gets in over Rantanen. And my third nominee now is Draisaitl. Two from the same team. You might say you don't want to do it, but it only makes sense in this situation. He's having that good of a season. And if Rantanen was to get the third spot, or Kachuk, I wouldn't be upset. But if it went to Kucherov, I don't think that Kucherov's been more important to Tampa than Draisaitl has been to Edmonton. McKinnon's missed 2 months. Marner's been fantastic. He's the most important player in the Leafs. I said that all year, but I still think Draisaitl deserves that recognition. Pettersson, no, because you're not making the playoffs. Carlson, no. Sorry, Jack Hughes, you missed some time. I go down the list. A lot of really good players there. There's so many great players in the league. What Leon does on a night in, night out basis, there's not many players, not many teams that can deal with it or match his brilliance and his productivity. Over the weekend, we found out Leafs versus Lightning is official after the Senators lost to the Leafs Saturday night, Tampa defeating the New York Islanders. We will see this again in round number 1. We've known this for about 2 months. It's not good for the sport. I said this for a while, that just a countdown to get there. Both teams don't seem to care all that much. The Lightning are starting to play better all of a sudden, though. You are seeing that. They're dominating teams right before playoff time, so that the message of all the Ning are slipping, they don't look that good. Well, they're starting to win games now. Brayden Point scoring goals out the wazoo. They look pretty good. Kucherov looks dialed in. He's healthy. I didn't watch any of the Leafs Detroit game last night for obvious reasons. Won't explain that. But I did see that after giving up 3 goals in the first period, Matt Murray was bumped and he left the game and did not return. Samsonov had to come in, and no real update from Sheldon Keefe today on the status of his goaltender. I believe the Leafs might have had an off day. They play tomorrow against Columbus. Going to check here if anything has come out on Nothing. You think Sportsnet and TSN, all they do is talk about the Leafs, so you think it would be up here. Don't see anything definitive, so they must have been off today or they couldn't find out any information, which both could be true. But Matt Murray goes down. Who knows with this guy? If it was a goalie getting hurt and it was a guy that you expected to bounce back, it was a guy that has been injured before and he came back quick, you'd feel good about it. We're talking about Matt Murray here, a guy who's injured constantly, a guy who seemingly finds a bruise on any given day. I talk about the mental strength of some of these goaltenders. Matt Murray, Freddie Anderson, they're on the bottom end of that toughness scale, mental toughness. They find a reason to drop as we get close to playoff season. He can't help the fact that he was injured. Didn't look like all that bad of a play to me. Maybe he'll be fine. But to me, shouldn't be that big of a worry, and here's why. Your number one goalie didn't get hurt. The guy who got a shutout Saturday night is healthy. Samsonov's been the best Leafs goaltender all season long, and it hasn't been that close. So, you stick with what's been winning you games. Matt Murray's been a headache that hasn't been reliable. You don't stick with that. You don't rely on that. You go with Samsonov. So is it unfortunate that he got injured? Yes. You'd like for both guys to be healthy, and maybe Matt Murray will be on the bench come game one. We don't know the extent of the injury. You hope it's not a concussion or something like that. But this should not change your plans for game one. This should not change your approach. Just because Matt Murray's from the Sault Ste. Marie and he played on that team doesn't mean you should just start game one. So Leafs fans, just take a chill pill. Take a chill pill. I know it's tough for Leaf fans to do that. Go listen to your local sports show or listen to me, the real voice of the people. Your better goalie is healthy. Your mentally weak goalie who can't play against, can't get that in his whole head, gets injured. Big frickin' whoop. Joseph Wall gets called up, maybe gets a start down the stretch. Good for Joseph Wall. Get him some practice. He'll be on the Leafs roster next year. Maybe with Matt Murray. Got him for another year. While Samsonov's off somewhere else making saves. Who knows? But it's not a big deal until it's a big deal. But it's not a big deal right now. Would it be a big deal in Tampa if Brian Elliott blew out his ACL? No. Wouldn't be. Would it be a big deal in Carolina if Freddie Anderson gets injured? I'm telling you it wouldn't be because Korchkov, the kid's a better goalie, and you have to expect it. If you're Rob Brendamore and co. For him, then you go, okay, Korchkov, okay, Ronta, let's go do it. The way it works. Would it be a big deal in Dallas with Ottinger because you don't have a great backup? Scott Wedgwood, he's a backup. Colorado, I don't think they'd shake. Georgiev's been very good, but I still think in their back of their mind, they're like, all right, we can win. We can beat Dallas in a playoff series. Marc-Andre Fleury goes down to Minnesota. Are they panicking? No. Why? Gustafson's a better goalie. Seamus said I was right on Saturday, so Friday, so remember that. But also, the Flower. We still have a good team. Gustafson's the better goalie. You panic when your better goalie is injured. And also, half the league has tandems. So you really don't have a number one. You just have whoever's hot at the right moment, and then you'll flip to the other guy. That's how the league works now. That's how it's set up. That's how it's designed, fans. Chill pill. Just mellow out. Smoke some ganj. Listen to a little waves and the calming sound. Your playoff hopes are not ruined. Ryan O'Reilly's coming back. Noah Chari should be healthy come playoff time. Maybe Matt Murray will be on the bench wearing the ball cap. If that makes you feel any better. No, it isn't. Just because it happened in Toronto doesn't make it a big deal, despite what people think. Again, voice of the people. And Leafs versus Lightning round 1. Whatever. Excited? No. Hate the word. Looking forward to the series? Not like Kings Oilers. Kings Oilers. We get that round 1, I'll tell you. Look forward to that then. Separated by a point, 5 games left. The two teams meet tomorrow night. Talk about box office. That would intrigue me. That would be interesting. Leafs thing, I'll watch every game. If it goes 7, I'll watch every second of it. Of course, it's like every other series. But does it interest me more than any other series? No. What else? Pacific Division, is loaded. Vegas, LA, Edmonton. All these teams win every night. Vegas beat Minnesota on Saturday. Laurent Brossoit made the start. They meet again tonight. Vegas heads to Minnesota, a little home and home. Minnesota kind of hit a wall when it comes to goal scoring. Brossoit made 30 saves. Very solid outing for him. But Vegas is so perplexing because they don't have any great goaltending. They have a Brossoit quick tandem currently, which is not exactly threatening. But they find a way to win. Getting goals from Nick Hague, finding goals from Zach Whitecloud, from Brett Howden. They win games. They'll play their 77th game of the season tonight, tying them up with games played with Los Angeles and Edmonton. They currently have a 2-point lead on the Oilers and a 1-point lead on Los Angeles. So this Pacific Division is going to go down to the wire. Vegas and LA meet later in the week. LA plays Edmonton on Thursday. Vegas gets Minnesota tonight. That's a tough schedule. Edmonton obviously gets LA. Then they get the Ducks again. Nice little matchup. Then Edmonton, they get the Sharks. So 3 Pacific Division teams, 2 non-playoff, 2 of the worst teams in hockey over the last 5. And they finish at the Avalanche. Both teams will want that game. And against the Sharks. So they have a pretty easy end to their season. Looks good for the Oilers. Quite frankly, Vegas obviously has Minnesota tonight. They're in Nashville tomorrow. Hosting LA Thursday. Then they head to Dallas Saturday afternoon. Tough schedule. Tough schedule for Vegas. Host the Kraken. And then head to Seattle to end their season. Edmonton has the easiest path to the Pacific Division crown on paper when it comes to opponents. That doesn't mean they're going to get it, but they have the easiest path. Last 5, 3 games against non-playoff teams. San Jose twice and Anaheim. LA and Colorado in the mix. Vegas's opponents, only 1 non-playoff team. LA, they might have all playoff teams down the stretch here. LA's got Edmonton, Vegas, Colorado. Vancouver, so the non-playoff team. And they finish with the Ducks. So 2 non-playoff teams, but again, a tough in the mix there for Los Angeles. Edmonton, LA would be a lot of fun. It would be the series I'm looking forward to the most if they play each other. I don't root for anybody. I think Vegas winning the division would be the best because I want to see that series. Again, they played in the first round last year. I will say getting that in the second round would be fun too because I think both teams are better than Vegas. Goaltending, just top to bottom, their overall teams, I think they're better than the Vegas Golden Knights. But I give Vegas credit for finding ways to win. Beating Minnesota, beating Edmonton last week, just gritting out wins. But I've talked about the NHL and how it's not that interesting right now, and a lot of it isn't. East Coast games, I'm tracking Florida, Buffalo a little bit because they're still in the mix. The Pittsburgh games, New Jersey, Carolina a little bit, but again, not a whole lot of meat on the bone. Since the All-Star break, the Western Conference has been on the rise, and down the stretch here, it is the more interesting. When you're looking at it, you want it. It's far more intriguing. Because also in the Central, Minnesota's played 76 games. They have 97 points. Colorado's played 75. They got 96. Dallas has played 76. They have 96 points. So anybody can still win that division. Colorado's in the driver's seat. They got games in hand. Minnesota, Dallas in the first round would be a lot of fun. Also in the West, Seattle's played 75 games. And they have 90 points. So they have 2 games in hand on the Winnipeg Jets, who have 89 points, who have played 77. Winnipeg's got 5 games remaining, as do the Calgary Flames. Winnipeg currently leads Calgary by 2 points. They play against each other Wednesday night, one of the biggest games of the season. Seattle hosts the Coyotes tonight in a massive, massive game that they have to win because they get them tonight. Then on a back-to-back, they go to Vancouver tomorrow night. So 2 non-playoff teams for Seattle. I said all year I thought Seattle was going to make the playoffs. They haven't played that good hockey as of late. But their next 3, they get the Coyotes, the Canucks, the Coyotes. No excuses. You have to win those. No excuses. Then you get the Blackhawks. 4 non-playoff teams over the next 4 games. They get the Coyotes again next Monday. Golden Knights, so 1 playoff team. And they wrap it up with the Golden Knights. So out of the last 6 games, 5 are against non-playoff teams. They control their own destiny. They have games in hand on the Flames and on the Winnipeg Jets. I think the team that wins, they could still finish with the second wild card spot. I could see that happening because the Jets are playing really well. The Flames are winning as well. The Flames found a way to beat Anaheim last night, gutting out a victory. But to me, Seattle, if they make the playoffs, it's a good story. Daniel Sprong, Matty Beniers, a team that doesn't have a superstar player, expansion, and make the playoffs in their second year. That's a good story for the league. It is. Martin Jones playing for much of the year, Philip Grubauer, Joey Decord. It's been a mismatch of guys. They've had a lot of injuries down the stretch. It would be a good story. But to me, any team in the West wants to play Seattle. They stay in that first wild card slot. Currently, they would play the Minnesota. I think the Minnesota Wild would be really content on playing the Seattle Kraken. I think the Colorado Avalanche would be thrilled to play the Seattle Kraken. Because I would rather play Seattle than play Winnipeg and or Calgary. And I hate watching Calgary. I think Winnipeg's a far superior team than the Calgary Flames, even though Calgary may make the playoffs over Winnipeg. But Winnipeg would be tricky. Let's say Vegas wins the Pacific. I think if Vegas played Winnipeg, I think Winnipeg can upset them. Absolutely. Because top-end talent, those two teams, Winnipeg can match it. Their goaltending is better. Defense, not a strength of Winnipeg. We'll see. Maybe can even out when it comes to offense, defense, and those splits. But the Winnipeg Jets this weekend smoke the Detroit Red Wings and then smoke a playoff team, a really good team in the New Jersey Devils last night. Mark Scheifele's found his game. Blake Wheeler's got some jump. Nick Ehlers scored a goal. Morgan Barron scored on a penalty shot. The Jets, it's about finding consistency. And the regular season doesn't matter if you get in. You can have a horrible statistical season. Like, I don't think Matthews had a great season. But if he goes into the playoffs and he plays like a rock star, who cares? It's moot. It's a non-starter because he was great when he needed to be. People might view Draisaitl and McDavid as just guys who gets a whole lot of stats. If they go out and ball out and they win the Stanley Cup, then that argument is stupid. Those are just haters that don't want to see two guys succeed. Huberdeau could have a horrible year. If the Flames squeak in and go on a run, then who knows? Then he's a savior. Then the trade's worth it. Florida might view Paul Maurice as a horrible head coaching hire. If they get into the playoffs, if they're in one of the last two spots and they play the Boston Bruins and somehow upset them, then you got something going here. Then it was a smart hire. Then you made a good look. That's how this works. It's all about results. Your process, the way you went about it, could all be correct. But it will be, unless you win, your decisions, your process, the way you went about doing your business is stupid. And it's a fickle business, but that's just the brass tacks of it. What a weekend. What a weekend. National championships, hockey, basketball. Good news on the NBA front. Andrew Wiggins is going to be returning for the Golden State Warriors. We have less than a week left in the NBA regular season. Play-in tournament starts next week. So this week it's all about locking down seeds, getting yourself in a position, the best seed possible. You want to be a top 6 seed so you don't have to play in the play-in tournament. You have Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, Cleveland, New York, all have locked-in playoff spots in the Eastern Conference. Brooklyn looks comfortable. They have a 2-game lead on the Miami Heat for the 6th spot. Miami has a 2-game lead on Atlanta. Atlanta and Toronto Raptors tied for 8th at the moment. That'll come down to the wire. Looks like Chicago be 10. So if the season ended today, the Raptors would play the Bulls. The winner of that would then play the loser of Atlanta and Miami for the 8th seed in the East. West, it's going to be Denver, Memphis, Sacramento, top 3 teams. Phoenix, likely going to be the 4th seed. LA, Golden State, the Lakers are all tied for 5th. That's going to come down to the wire. That's going to come down to games. No NBA games this evening, likely because of the national title game. You have Minnesota and Oklahoma City, 9th, 10th. And there's a report today in the NBA that the Dallas Mavericks may just shut down Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving for the rest of the year. They lost yesterday to Atlanta. They lost to the Heat on Saturday night. It is a train wreck in Dallas. Crazy things are going on there. But also this week, I enjoyed WrestleMania. I got to tell you, I really did. I watched Saturday. We talked. I watched I think my favorite match of the weekend. I would say my favorite match of the weekend would have to, the Charlotte Flair Rhea Ripley match was fantastic. Rhea Ripley winning the women's title. The Gunther Drew McIntyre Sheamus match was phenomenal. That was just so physical, such a fun match. It was an interesting decision they made in the main event with Roman Reigns retaining. So tonight will be good too. The Monday after WrestleMania, the Raw after WrestleMania. So fun stuff this weekend. Tonight, national title game, some NHL. Lots to chew on this evening. Be back tomorrow. Casey and Sheamus will be by. Talk the Masters. Talk some NBA with Sheamus before we get to the golf. So have a great night, everybody. Until then, this is To The Point.